Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Rebekah Roberts.
And I'm Yochanan Elrom.
In our top story, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the people of Iran last week, saying that freedom is at hand. Netanyahu said Israel aspires to help the Iranian people to throw off the yoke of tyranny, and that the moment of truth is drawing near for the people of Iran to oust their radical Islamic oppressors and usher in an era of peace. He confirmed that Israel has an organized plan with many surprises to destabilize the government and enable change. A senior Israeli security official told Israeli media that the regime could fall in an instant.
Iran's Assembly of Experts has named Mojtaba Khamenei, son of slain Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, as the new supreme leader of the radical Islamic Republic. Iranian state TV confirmed that Mojtaba was wounded in Israeli airstrikes that killed his father and the majority of Iran's senior leadership. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps pledged its complete obedience and self-sacrifice to their new leader. This was followed by a chorus of praise from fanatic terror groups throughout the Middle East, including Houthi terrorists in Yemen and Iraqi Kataib Hezbollah militia.
Several Israelis have been killed and dozens wounded in relentless barrages of Iranian ballistic missile fire on the Jewish state. Israeli authorities have reported that Tehran has escalated, firing cluster bomb warheads on crowded population centers. This dangerous weapon spreads dozens of submunition explosives over wide areas to inflict maximum casualties and damages. At the time of this broadcast, Iran has fired upwards of 300 ballistic missiles on the Jewish state. At least half of these rockets were equipped with cluster bomb warheads. The Israeli public has been cautioned to avoid fallen shrapnel and unexploded ordnances.
An Israeli naval strike successfully eliminated 5 senior members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps' Quds force in Lebanon. The precision strike killed all 5 terrorist operatives as they were meeting in a Beirut hotel room. The IDF confirmed that one of the targets was a financial liaison who facilitated the transfer of over $770 million to Hezbollah from Iran last year alone. It said these officials were the real functional operators of the Iran-Hezbollah alliance, and the elimination of these terrorists will have a long-term impact on Iran and Hezbollah's ability to coordinate and cooperate.
Israeli troops have begun ground operations in Lebanon to prevent Hezbollah from perpetrating further attacks on the Jewish state. In a statement, the IDF said that it is working to create an additional layer of security for residents of northern Israel by conducting targeted strikes against Hezbollah terrorist infrastructure. It confirmed that Israeli soldiers are removing threats and preventing infiltration attempts from Lebanon into Israeli territory. IDF positions have been established throughout southern Lebanon and near the Israeli border as part of an enhanced forward defense posture.
Lebanon has suddenly stepped up its campaign against the radical Hezbollah terror group and is facing increased threats from the Iranian-backed fanatics. Beirut has failed to rein in and disarm Hezbollah, but it recently toughened its stance by banning Hezbollah's armed wing. It also declared the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps persona non grata and expelled several senior Iranian officials from Lebanese soil. Hezbollah responded by instructing all of its followers to confront the Lebanese army if it attempts to disrupt its war on Israel.
Authorities in New York City have announced that the individuals who attempted to bomb protests outside Gracie Mansion were radicalized by ISIS. Amir Balat and Ibrahim Qayyumi have been charged with attempting to provide material support to a terrorist organization and using a weapon of mass destruction. The suspects are accused of hurling homemade explosive devices on crowds and police. Fortunately, the explosives, loaded with metal nuts and bolts for maximum carnage, extinguished on impact. Both terrorists have admitted pledging allegiance to the Islamic State, and one said they were planning an attack more devastating than the Boston Marathon bombing.
The Secure Community Network, which serves as a safety organization for North American Jewry, has released an alarming threat assessment. The organization issued an urgent bulletin to law enforcement detailing an unprecedented domestic threat environment for the Jewish community. Iranian leaders have issued fatwas demanding that Muslims avenge the blood of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. They warn that Iran's enemies will not be safe anywhere, including in their homes. In an exclusive interview with the Jewish News Syndicate, Michael Masters, National Director and CEO of the Secure Community Network, said fanatics are being openly encouraged to undertake attacks to threaten the Jewish community and are calling for death to the Jews at a fever pitch.
2 synagogues in the Greater Toronto area were targeted in shooting attacks last week. The Jewish houses of worship located in Thornhill and North York reported bullet holes and damage, but no injuries. Israel's Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sharon Haskel, denounced the shootings as anti-Semitic terrorism. She said since October 7th, anti-Semitism has exploded across Canada and around the world. Jewish communities are under siege, and governments at every level must do more to protect their Jewish citizens. Haskel was born in Canada and immigrated to Israel as a child. She said there is only one place in the world where Jews can truly guarantee their safety and defend themselves, and that is in Israel.
Anti-Semitic commentator Tucker Carlson has been officially kicked out of U.S. President Donald Trump's Make America Great Again movement. Trump announced Carlson's ouster from MAGA after the crazed media personality called joint American-Israeli strikes on Iran absolutely disgusting and evil. Carlson has spread vile and anti-Semitic conspiracy theories and has accused Christian Zionists of suffering from a mental disorder. Trump announced Carlson's expulsion from MAGA, saying Tucker Carlson has lost his way.
A U.S. federal court has convicted an Iranian man of attempting to assassinate U.S. President Donald Trump and other high-ranking American officials. During the trial, Asif Merchant admitted that he attempted to have the president killed at the behest of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. The Department of Justice said that Merchant was recruited in 2022 and was trained in counter-surveillance and spycraft. He was ultimately betrayed by one of his own operatives who reported that Merchant was looking to hire assassins to kill the president. Merchant was found guilty by a jury in New York City and is facing life in prison.
Israel just might be the only place in the world where its citizens race to get back home during wartime. Tens of thousands of Israelis stranded abroad by the war with Iran and Hezbollah have slowly begun to return. On the first day of repatriation flights, 3,500 Israelis braved Iranian missile fire to get home and join their families in shelters and their brothers on the front lines. Israel's Airports Authority confirmed that 60% of Israelis stranded have returned home. And in related news, the Jewish state welcomed its first new immigrant since the start of Operation Roaring Lion. The Jewish agency released a statement saying, since the Hamas attacks on October 7, 2023, more than 50,000 Jews have immigrated or made aliyah to Israel.
Israelis living in Tel Aviv briefly left their bomb shelters last week to erect a memorial for 7 American soldiers killed at the beginning of Operation Epic Fury. The display includes pictures and descriptions of the American heroes and was set up on Tel Aviv's busy boardwalk with a huge sign thanking them for their service and for their sacrifice. In Jerusalem, the iconic Cords Bridge has been lit up with U.S. and Israeli flags. The Jerusalem municipality said this display is a gesture of appreciation to the American people in the wake of the war with Iran.
Dozens of legislators from around the world have signed an open letter in support of the Iranian people in their struggle for freedom from the tyrannical Islamic Republic. Member of Knesset Amit Halevi authored the letter calling on members of parliament from free and democratic nations to express their support for the Iranian freedom movement. More than 40 chairmen from Israel Allies Foundation caucuses in Europe, Latin America, and Africa have already signed, affirming their shared commitment to freedom, human rights, justice, and peace. They call on the international community to maintain principled and sustained pressure until the Iranian people are able to determine their own future. Josh Reinstein, president of the Israel Allies Foundation, thanked the network of IAF parliamentarians for their tremendous support during the ongoing war with Iran. He said, "We understand that joint American-Israeli Operation Epic Fury is critical in stopping the world's #1 sponsor of terror. We also fully support Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi's quest to lead Iran as a democracy. This will in turn lead to peace between Israel and Iran through the Cyrus Accords and transform the Middle East into a beacon of peace and prosperity." That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein, and we're here in our beautiful studio in Jerusalem. My guest today is Elias Zarina. He's the founder of the Jerusalemite Initiative. Elias, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me here, Josh.
Tell our viewers a little bit about what is the Jerusalemite Initiative.
The Jerusalemite Initiative, it's an NGO that's working for full integration for the Arab-speaking Christian community in Israel and special focus on Jerusalem.
A lot of anti-Semites like Tucker Carlson and his ilk are trying to say that Christians are persecuted here and they have it way better in Qatar, that it's actually better there. But as a Christian, you have the same rights as every Jew in Israel. You can vote, you have free medical care, you have free education, you can have freedom of speech. None of Christians in the Middle East, freedom of worship, Christians in the Middle East don't have those rights. That's why it's so ridiculous to make the comparison, don't you think?
Let's talk about our neighbors, which is the Palestinian territories. We are talking about Bethlehem, which is the major Christian city inside the Palestinian territories. If we are talking about the numbers will explain to you everything. Before Oslo Agreement, before Oslo Accord, 1993, the Christian population was around 79%. After 35 years of the Palestinian Authority, now the numbers dwindled to 17 up to 18% maximum. So it shows you that the Christians, they are being persecuted systematically on the Arab countries, on the Islamic countries also. Look, there is no Christians in Qatar at all. And if you look to Syria, the Christians before 2010, before all the Arab Spring happened, they've been almost 10 millions in Syria. Nowadays, we are talking about maybe 500,000 that they remain there. So the Christians been persecuted for all the time, more than 100 years in this place in the Middle East, while on the other hand, in Israel, the numbers of the Christians, they are increasing all the time. We started in 1948, the Christians being around here in Israel, 75,000. Nowadays, we are talking about 200,000. So the numbers explain for you everything about the fact what's happening in Israel.
You're 100%. It's the only country in the Middle East where the Christian population grows every year and doesn't decrease every year. But not only that, the Christian community is among the most educated of the population of Israel. Right. It has a higher GDP for any Christian community around the Middle East.
Yeah.
For example, in Qatar, you can't be a citizen if you're Christian. In Saudi Arabia, you can't bring a Bible into the country. It's illegal. So where is this false narrative from the extremists on the right and the left coming from that Christians have a hard time in Israel?
Look, you need to understand that nowadays, the communism, the progressives, and the radical Islam, the Salafis, they all united for one narrative. And the narrative and their battle, it's against Israel and the Jewish people. And the Jewish people, it's only the first station for them. The next station is Christianity. It's Europe. All their narratives, they are funded by Qatar, funded by even Turkey. And I'm a researcher, and I'm working to find the truth. And the truth that all the Arab Spring and what happened on the Middle East and the Arab countries, it was for one purpose, to send as much as they can Muslims to Europe to dominate the European Union in 30 years. And nowadays you can see the battle inside the European Union borders with those immigrants, with those people that they came as a refugee, while Europe and the Christian values hug them and keep them and give them shelter and free education for their children. This is what happened.
Israeli Arabs are kind of lumped together as 20% of the population, but really it's 18% Muslim Arabs and 2% Christian Arabs. How does that affect the Christian community?
It's affected us so much. Because if look, Israel is a democracy, okay? So they keep all the time, let's talk about the work. You want to work in a government sector or any institute belongs to the government. There is all the time at least, let's say, inside 10 positions, at least there is 3 or 4 for the Arabs. We are including in this percentage. So we lose our opportunity to be involved and integrated inside the Israeli society and the workplace, because we don't have the right, we are not independent minority or independent, we are not independent. We belong to the Arab minorities. While on the other hand, my dream one day we will become like the Druze community, that they are separated, they are a unique community, they are independent. This is my goal in the end, to be separated from the Arab country, from the Arab nation, because I have no problem with them. I have a lot of friends. I get my education in those schools. But in the end, if I want to work for myself, I need to be integrated with this country.
Elias, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
So my message to the Christian world, you are more than welcome to come to Israel, to visit this holy land, and especially to meet the Christian Arab-speaking unique community that living here. And you will find the truth by yourself when you are just touching this soil.
Thank you, Elias, for being on the show. And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
And now the truth from Zion.
For decades, Israel warned that Iran's radical Islamic regime was building the means to strike Israel directly, not only through proxies, but with missiles, drones, and a nuclear program designed to wipe Israel off the map. Time after time, Israeli leaders drew red lines in global forums, such as the United Nations, and argued that credible force would be needed to stop Tehran's destructive ambitions. The regime defines Israel as the enemy and seeks nothing less than its total annihilation. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said Israel would not survive another quarter century. On June 13, 2025, having determined that Iran's capabilities and ambitions had reached a point that could not be ignored, Israel launched a surprise operation against the military and nuclear infrastructure of the fanatic Shiite regime. The goal was to degrade Iran's launch capacity and raise the cost of continued nuclear advancement. Tehran responded with ballistic missiles and suicide drones that rained down on Israeli cities and the civilian population in repeated waves. Sirens sounded across the Jewish state. Families ran for shelters time and again. The Iron Dome, David's Sling, and the Arrow missile defense systems stopped most of the incoming threats, but not all. Some strikes hit apartment blocks, industrial sites, and key public services. The worst civilian incident came on June 19th, when a large Iranian missile slammed into Beersheva's Soroka Medical Center. Hospital wards were wrecked, dozens were injured. But fortunately, staff had moved patients underground just hours earlier. Israel, however, did not attack civilians with its weapons. Inside Iran, only military, nuclear, and government sites were targeted. While Iran's attack sought to inflict maximum pain on the Jewish people, Israel only sought to degrade the maniacal regime's ability to do so. Iran continuously claimed victory, praised its dead as martyrs, and vowed to rebuild its nuclear enrichment capabilities. On June 21st and 22nd, the United States decisively entered the conflict alongside Israel. Under orders from President Donald Trump, U.S. B-2 bombers and cruise missile platforms struck Iran's principal nuclear facilities, Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. Trump said the sites were completely obliterated. The signal was unmistakable. Nuclear breakout would be met with force, and Israel would not stand alone. Support inside Israel was overwhelming. Mid-June surveys reveal that approximately 70% of Israelis overall and 83% of Jewish Israelis backed the strikes on Iran, with broad support across the political spectrum. Critics debated timing and risk, as democracies do, but while missiles fell, unity prevailed. The human cost was real. The confirmed toll inside Israel was 28 people killed, all but one were civilians, and there were just over 3,200 injured requiring hospitalization. By June 24th, a U.S.-mediated ceasefire took hold. Jerusalem had stripped away Iran's nuclear shield and exposed vulnerabilities in the missile network. Meanwhile, the UN nuclear watchdog sought to re-engage with the hardline regime. But Tehran stalled on inspections, even as European governments signaled they were ready to reimpose UN sanctions if transparency and talks did not resume. Iran's leadership vowed Israel's elimination. Israel warned, prepared, and acted. When the missiles came, Israel absorbed the blows and struck back. When escalation threatened the region, the United States, under President Donald Trump, carried out the most direct strikes to date on Iran's nuclear infrastructure. By day 12, the guns fell quiet, but the lesson was loud and clear. Israel will strike those who threaten it, shield its people, and stand with its allies. Our edge is not only technology, it's unity, purpose, and friends like the United States who stand with us when it counts. Strength shortens wars, protects families, and creates the only space where real peace can grow. The danger persists, and so does Israel's advantage. From Jerusalem, this is the truth from Zion. Up next, shining light from Israel.
The Dead Sea, located just 25 miles from our holy capital of Jerusalem, is the lowest place in the entire world, 1,500 feet below sea level. Just off the main highway towards the Dead Sea is an old British road connecting Jericho and Jerusalem. It leads to Wadi Qelt, a dried out riverbed known here as Nachal Prat. Just behind me, you can see a beautiful complex hanging on the cliffs of Wadi Qelt. And this is a remnant of a thriving monastic community that lived here in the Judean desert during the Byzantine Empire 1,500 years ago. And it's believed by Christians that it was built on top of the cave in which Elijah the prophet hid from the wicked queen of the north, Jezebel. And we can read about this story in the book of Kings in the Bible. While heading back to the main highway from St. George's Monastery, make sure to stop in the Jewish village of Mitzpe Yericho to enjoy an overlook to the modern city of Jericho, where archaeologists have discovered the biblical site where Joshua and the Israelites conquered the city of Jericho over 3,000 years ago. And if you're feeling adventurous, residents here in this small Jewish community offer Jeep rides throughout the Judean desert, including the monastery, and of course overlooks here to Jericho. Come with me as we head down towards the Dead Sea. Right now, we're at sea level, which means we've descended 3,000 feet. Let's go visit the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea, literally the lowest place on earth you can walk on dry land, 1,500 feet below sea level. And what caused this massive valley here? The Syrian-African Rift, the largest fault line in the entire world, spanning 6,000 kilometers. It goes from Africa all the way up into Turkey. It's what formed the Red Sea, which comes out of the Indian Ocean. That's the port of Aqaba and the city of Eilat, the most southern city here in Israel. The Arava Valley, the Sea of Galilee, the Hula Valley, all part of this large system called the Syrian-African Rift. The Dead Sea is one of Israel's most popular tourist sites. And the reason being is that the water here is so hypersalinated, 33% salt minerals, that you can't sink. You literally float on water. It's like being completely weightless. But also, the health benefits of floating in the water are world-renowned. Some people even go to the shores of the Dead Sea in order to gather its mud, rub it all over them to experience and enjoy its healing properties. Here at the Dead Sea, the biblical narrative of Sodom and Gomorrah take place. After the split of Abraham and Lot, where Lot comes here, and due to the misbehavior of the people who are living here, Sodom is destroyed with fire and brimstone, and what is left behind but pillars of salt. There are many activities that visitors to the Dead Sea can experience, from visiting the national parks of Masada, Qumran, or hiking through the majestic trails of En Gedi. One can take an ATV tour through the Judean hills here in the desert. Or a really special activity is to do a boat tour or kayak tour along the shores of the Dead Sea to places that are inaccessible by any other way. Once there, you can mine salt crystals from the ground. For those of you who are looking to spend more than a day here in the region of the Dead Sea, in Ein Bokek there are literally over a dozen hotels, from 5-star resorts to more budget-friendly accommodations. Thanks again for watching. And on your next visit to Israel, make sure to visit the region of the Dead Sea.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Rebekah Roberts.
And I'm Yochanan Elrom, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.